I figured I'd do a quick fire ranked best and worst of 2022 just in one video, my top 10 worst, my top 10 best. So we'll start with our top 10 worst films of the year. If I scroll down to my letterbox, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Alright. Now, these aren't all awful films, they all have their merits. But at number 10, I've got Hellraiser. I gave it 3 stars. I think that's one of the first films of the year that from that point onwards, I'm like, these are decently enjoyable, but you don't have to watch them. Followed that by Bullet Train. Watched with my partner. We both found it a bit boring. We were interested to watch it, but it was a bit long. It was a bit much. I don't know. It was just too much going on and not enough. I don't know. It just wasn't interesting enough for me. My family liked it, but good for them. Followed that up on Netflix with Blonde, which was one of those amazing acting and production design and cinematography, but narrative and just that whole direction, awful. One of the most disgusting films I've ever watched. So, I mean, I haven't exactly watched Human Centipede, but like this one was fucking disgusting, so, But Under the Armours was fantastic. I would not suggest it. I'd suggest watching actual Marilyn Monroe films, let's be honest. Follow that up with Lightyear. I gave it 3 stars. It had an interesting first act, but the rest of it was very boring and very early 2000s kind of sci-fi with the obvious twists. Like Lost in Space, that live-action movie that they made. It's basically that, but I'd say worse, which is saying a lot. Follow that up with Sonic the Hedgehog 2. I only ranked this lower than Blonde, I guess, because Blonde has better production design and everything, whereas this is just, it's fine. It's fine. I'm not a huge Sonic fan. I think the Sonic films are fine. I think this one's just a bit, I don't know, it's fine. I don't really have much to say against this film. I mean, I gave it 2.5 stars. It's just fine. I don't really have anything against it. Next up, we have Smile, which I gave 2 stars. I thought this one was just kind of bad. It had a really tense opening 10 minutes, and then the last act was kind of interesting, but then the whole end-all reveal and final twist, I guess, was just so lackluster. I really enjoyed just how over-the-top it became in the last, 25 minutes, but then it just was like, oh, now we're going to make it worse. So, yeah, it did not stick its landing. I mean, the middle sections is exceptionally boring, and just laughable, realistically. So, yeah, not very scary. Then, the next number 4, we've got Moonfall, which I gave 2 stars. This one's one of those great go to the cinema or just watch on the big screen, get drunk, enjoy the crap out of it kind of deal, because it's fun, dumb shit. Visually, it's amazing because the the special effects are amazing. But I mean, it's a Roland Emmerich, so you're going to enjoy it for it being dumb schlock, but not much else, realistically. Also, too much praise for Elon Musk. Oh, the god. Next up, we have at number 3, Persuasion from 2022. I have never seen a Persuasion adaptation. I've never read the book, and I don't know if I really want to see any other adaptation now. I gave it 2 stars. It's fine, but it's really, really dull, and the whole modern Fleabag twist. I love Fleabag, but this did not deserve that kind of, did not warrant that kind of perspective. So, yeah. Number 2, for 1 star, I gave Morbius 1 star. This was just bad. I wanted to enjoy it for the meme, but you just can't enjoy it for the meme. It's just stupid. And I watched it before it became memed because a friend of mine really wanted to watch it because he thinks Jared Leto's hot. And I'm like, I think he's a fucking scumbag, but you feel pain. So, yeah, it wasn't great. It was really stupid. And lucky last at number 1 with 1.5 stars, I guess the merit being it has a lot of jump scares and they're really funny. Death on the Nile. Ugliest film, probably of the year in terms of visuals. I mean, Morbius is up there too, so they're probably the 2 most ugly films. And I watched this one in 70mm at the Astor, because my friend wanted to watch it in 70mm, and I'm like, okay, sure, and it was hilariously bad. Some funny performance choices, and the twists were terrible, because the mystery was really screwed over, because it's a poor adaptation of the original work. Not to mention a lot of jump scares. I know I mentioned it before, but a lot of jump scares. And now for my top 20 favourite films. I watched The Banshees of Inisherin. I watched it on Disney Plus because it just happened to be out now on Disney Plus. I was going to get the Blu-ray. I was going to bloody watch it in the cinema, and then I was going to get the Blu-ray, and that's just on Disney Plus in 4K. So I'm like, I can just do that. So I just did that. I gave it 4.5 stars, which is probably my highest rated, so low down on the list. I love Martin McDonald's work. But yeah, I just prefer all the rest of the films. Like, not prefer, but I really enjoyed the rest of the films that came out for the rest of the list. Just in their own ranks, I guess. But yeah, I gave it 4.5 stars. I still think it's a bloody good film. Then next up was Confess Fletch, which I rented from Amazon Prime. I gave it 3.5 stars. This is a solid comedy mystery. Mystery comedy. Mystery comedy. It's good. Good cast. Well written stuff. Funny. I enjoyed it. Good film. Go check it out. Confess Fletch. Then at number 18, I watched Elvis. I gave it 4 stars. I watched it after watching Megan, because Megan... Yeah. But Elvis, yeah, pretty good. I watched it in 4K, my Dolby Vision. Fucking looked nice, sounded wonderful. Number 17, The Batman, with 4 stars. I watched it twice? Seriously? Wow. Yeah, because I watched it with my mate Guy and my brother. And we even had a guy who was like at the end of our row. We were like an hour in, and he was so bored. He's just like, oh my god. I'm like, the amount of times he was just very verbal at the fact that he did not enjoy the movie. And I'm like, thinking, just leave. Like, I was loving it. I found it hilarious. Like, sometimes like something like that can take you out of the movie. I found it hilarious that this guy was so fucking just hated watching this movie. I don't know. Like, he was, what is this? Gotta love when a guy at the end of your row audibly complains about the length of the film an hour in to the point of yawning 20 minutes later, whilst I am sitting here glued to my seat because this vengeance guy is just doing a buddy cop film whilst dressed like a bat. Also, good score. Second time I watched it, my friend almost broke her arm. Number 16, Jackass Forever. This was, oh my god, was this the first film I watched of 2022? I think it was. Yeah, I think this was earlier than Kimmy, actually. This is Feb 6th, number 6th of Feb. This was wonderful. It's one of those things where it's like, if you have a good crowd that'll laugh at everything, you'll fucking love it. And I didn't have the best crowd laughing at everything, but my mate Guy, who I watched it with, was fucking cacking himself the whole time. And I was loving it. Like, sometimes you just need that one person, you're like, this is the dream. Number 15, now here's where I think we hit masterpiece territory. Jackass Forever, if you're a huge Jackass fan or fan of that kind of stuff, that's probably where your masterpiece hits. Even fucking The Batman is... I think The Batman is probably where people would hit, like, this is masterpiece stuff. I'm like, yeah, it's good stuff. Could probably give them 4 to 5 stars realistically, but I just didn't. 4.5 stars goes to Bones and All. Time to throw up and cry. I watched the Blu-ray on Valentine's Day. I figured it'd be funny because I don't celebrate Valentine's Day with my girlfriend. She's also in America, so... yeah, but I thought it would be funny if I watched a romantic cannibal film on Valentine's Day, and it was great. Beautiful film. I love the director. I love the cast. The score. The amount of people who made this film, and I'm like, I know all of those people. Not personally, but like, you know, like guys who made the score, Nine Inch Nails, that kind of shit. I'm like, oh my god. It's great. Number 14, this is my most recent watch, I believe, was Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. I gave it 4.5 stars. The only reason I punched it a little bit above Bones and All was simply because it's all stop motion. Respect for the craft. And touching story. I liked it. I liked the score. I liked the fact that it was also partially a musical. I was not expecting that. And I'm like, oh my god, they're singing. This is great. Like, sometimes you hate when the people start singing in movies and it becomes a musical. But it really isn't. And they sing a couple songs. It all seems natural. Like, it doesn't have a build-up or anything. Even the one time where Sebastian J. Cricket, I'm pretty sure that's his name. When he tries to sing one of his songs, he gets immediately fucking kicked out of the way by a door because Pinocchio's like, fuck this, I'm gonna go adventure. Loved it. That was genuinely hilarious. Yeah, but no, good stuff. Wonderful looking film, and obviously the featurette is on Disney Plus or is it Netflix? On Netflix. So I'd suggest that as well if you have seen the film. Watch it after the film, though. It spoils the whole ending. Number 13. This is probably everybody's favourite film of the year. I'm sorry it's not my favourite film of the year, even though I've seen it like twice. Everything Everywhere All at Once. I gave it 4.5 stars. Crazy as shit. I liked it a lot more the first time watching it. I didn't care as much the second time. I gotta be honest, I much prefer Swiss Army Man. I really liked Everything Everywhere, and I love Daniel's work, but I love Swiss Army Man. And I think maybe because I'd seen that, not just once, but several times, and love it as one of my favourite films, that seeing this movie, I'm like, I'm not all too surprised by what they were able to come up with to some degree. Like, this is the kind of talent I expected them to have, whereas everyone else was like, this is the best movie everywhere, this is the best movie of all time, because I don't expect anyone to have talent whilst making a movie anymore. And I'm like, I get it, we're getting flustered with blockbuster Marvel shit, but at the same time, these guys made a movie that I think is better back in 2016. So, you know, this movie's Everything Everywhere is still fantastic, but I do love Swiss Army Man more. So, I mean, I think as an honorary, Everything Everywhere is probably definitely one of the best films, if not the best film of the year, but not my favourite film of the year. See, I think that's a difference I pretty much should emphasise. These are my favourite films of the year, not what I think are the best films of the year. Because there's a lot of films that are fantastic that I pinned way further down or whatever. So, yeah. Next up, number 12. I know, it's not even in my top 10. How crazy is that? Crimes of the Future. Yeah, that fucking Cronenberg one about people who have weird sex. That's all of Cronenberg's films when we're talking about. I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was crazy as shit. It's good stuff. Next up, 11. Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. I had to get the Blu-ray in for this one. This one was great. Like, I didn't know too much going in because I hadn't seen too many of the trailers. I'd seen, like, too much trailer stuff. I knew who some of the cast were. I love Lee Pace. I knew that it had something to do with some game that they were going to play, and the people would probably die. Of course, it's Among Us. But it has this, like, third act kind of revelatory thing where it becomes, I think, what people expected it to be, with this kind of, like, commentary on, like, I don't know, culture. And the fact that it left it to, like, the end of the movie, I kind of loved even more, because I'm like, okay, I know these characters, I'm sus of this one, I'm trustworthy of this one, I like this one, all that kind of stuff. But then they bring in all this extra stuff that's, like, more relevant to, like, I don't know, us as a period, us as a social dynamic, you know, of the whole Black Lives Matter and stuff like that, you know, with all those movements, and they put that into the movie, and it's like, oh, this shit just got even more fucked up, you know, it's great. That's where peak satire. I really liked it. I gave it 4.5 stars. Followed by number 10, Mad God. I gave it 4.5 stars. I love stop motion, but I also love films that are just completely crazy in their narrative. And by that I mean there's basically no narrative. There's literally an episode of Poker Face that is, like, produced by Phil Tippett. Like, he did the stop motion stuff, and that's, like, basically a story about him. And he's like, yeah, no, I'm just making a stop motion film that has no story. It's just a storyless thing. And I'm like, that's great. I like that. You know? It's just good shit, you know? Number 9, you've got The Outfit. I gave 4.5 stars. It's a tight, tense movie, really well acted, really well orchestrated. Definitely one of the better ones of the year. Very under the radar. I only knew about it because I was watching a bunch of Zoe Deutsch films, and she was in it, so I watched it. It was bloody well worth it. But it's, like, on Netflix now, which really pisses me off because I had to rent it, so... I mean, I don't think we got a cinematic release in Australia, so at least, you know, I paid for it to some degree. So, and in HD on YouTube. So, yeah. Number 8, The Fabelmans, 4.5 stars. Spielberg just hits it out of the park, what can I say? He's a good bloody director. I have the majority of his films, like 85% of his films on my shelf. So I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, I'm excited to watch this one again. Number 7, Decision to Leave. I gave this one 4.5 stars. I like these Hitchcockian kind of, you know, mystery thrillers. A lot of people, I think, because they're very used to Hitchcock, don't like this film for that reason, or just think like, oh, you know, it's just another one of those films. At least that's the main criticisms I'm kind of seeing against it, but it's also the praise I'm seeing for it. either way, I think it's a really well made film, and yeah, just really just like the visual camera work, exceptional stuff. So yeah, definitely worth checking out. These are all worth checking out. Number 6, Pearl. I gave 4 stars. I'm in the boat currently where I prefer it to X, but I still think they're both really well done films for what they are. I just had a bit more enjoyment watching Pearl. I think that's just because when I watched X, I watched it and there was like 4 or 5 teenagers a few rows in front of me that wouldn't shut the fuck up, so I couldn't really enjoy the film as much. But I know because I love Texas Chainsaw Massacre that I feel like I'll love it a lot more on rewatch. And I expect to rewatch Pearl as well later this year when I introduce it to my girlfriend. So she's not in the country right now. So yeah, but yeah, so that'll be fun. And just a fucking fantastic performance from Mia Goth. I'm pretty sure it's just pronounced Goth. But yes, number 5, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. I gave it 4.5 stars. Just it's one of those films I wasn't expecting to absolutely love the way I did, but the story was really fun. The way they incorporated all the fairy tale stuff, all the incorporation of that, the animation style, exceptional stuff. Just loved it. Next up, number 4, RRR. I gave it 5 stars. One of the only films for this past year I gave 5 stars. It's just a bloody blast, you know. I watched it with basically a full cinema. Almost a full cinema, maybe 3/4 full. But I watched it with like 2 of my mates and my dad, and we had an absolute blast watching it. I'm keen to rewatch it. I've like rewatched the first half of it on Netflix. I'm yet to finish rewatching it, but yeah, it's just good stuff. It's the insanity that movies really need to be, where they can just go over the top and just stick with it and just be beautifully orchestrated. Not stupidly over the top like Moonfall, but fun over the top and just well written and directed. So, you know. Number 3, Nope, with 4.5 stars. I had a minor panic attack whilst watching this film, but that's okay. It's just claustrophobia, baby. So, yeah, just Jordan Peele just knows how to make good films. What else can I say? Bloody good film. Yeah. Number 2, and this was my number 1 for a very long time, Turning Red was, like, for a long time, was my top film of the year. I watched it back in March on Disney+. I loved it. I gave it 4.5 stars. It was my favorite film for 3 to 4 months of the year. Just a beautifully done film. It's what I love about these animated films. And then this final act is like, hey, what if you also like really big things that may be like kaijus? Anyway, number 1 is Top Gun Maverick with 5 stars. Watched it 3 times, made a video where I watched it in 4DX and that other cinema, the D-Box, so there's not much else I can say about it. I wanted something else to be the best film of the year, but that just was for me. I mean, yeah, anyway, let me know what your favourite and least favourite films of the year were, and I'll see you next time. Adios.